And you choose, but don't just leave it up to them because many, as Dr. said, don't understand how PhilHealth works. So how can they maximize it? So if we work together, it could happen, no? And together, we could, DOH should have more funds to deploy the healthcare workers. They might say it's decentralization of what, no? Deploying RSUs. And maybe together we amend the local government code so that nurses in local government healthcare facilities can become permanent employees instead of, what do they call this? Contractual, or there's another term for it. And job order. Because that is so sad. It's one of the problems, as I mentioned, said, we have the nurses, they go to the LGU, they cannot have any job security. Every 6 months they have to reapply. They are job ordered because the LGUs have no plantillas for them. Because they're limited by the local government code. There's a ceiling on how many they can. See, we need to change the law. We have to amend the law. Federalism law. Okay. And we can, together, we can have sustainability. Sustainability. I'm not campaigning here, just for the we need sustainability. What does it mean? Well, again, we cannot duplicate resources, we cannot waste. And PhilHealth must face the music, face the problems, increase collection efficiency, curb fraud and abuse, prioritize benefits, and bring in experts, more experts in health finance. We don't have enough experts, okay? Public health is not the same as PhilHealth. Unfortunately, sometimes people confuse the two. As a nation, we cannot afford to lose PhilHealth. And also, I'd like to say that the third, working together, PhilHealth and DOH can help isolate PhilHealth from political pressure. And so its decisions will be based on evidence and on sound policies and never on threats from or horse trading by politicians. You just can't imagine the pressure. I think Pico Duque is nodding his head. It should not be a political tool. It should be a tool for health and devoid of political pressure. That's a dream, could happen. Also, together, and devoid of political pressure, we might be able to raise the premiums we need to raise to give better benefits. We have to raise premiums. But no, there's no question about it. We have to raise the ceiling on premiums. It's too low. Okay? So those are things we have to do. It's been brought up earlier, yes, it has to do. These plans, we are now in a process. We're going to meet for a technical working committee to sort of give more solid plans to this overall plan. And but all of these things, all of the things we discussed today, all of the plans we're making, will all be for naught, no? Unless we have 3 factors in the next administration. They have been discussed and mentioned, but I would like to, I'm almost done. I just like to say something a little bit about these. 3 elements necessary for success. One is a strong political will. It was discussed over and over again. President Aquino had a strong political will to pass 4 or even 5 very difficult laws to pass. We've been talking about it over and over again. The sin tax being one of them, the National Health Insurance Act, another one, the Reproductive Act. That took a lot of, and I think a lot of stories cannot be told yet now, but they will be told in Secretary Levin's book. Her tell all about how the sin tax was passed. Okay? I think this was not really discussed, but we need to have a culture of accountability. There is none. You have accountable people because it's their own conscience. But a lot of people, and I really sort of say a lot of people, there's so many good people, but they see a lot of people not being held accountable. How can you now remove the corruption? How can you now do the things you have to do? And third, we need to have passion. So, again, I'm not going to be politically correct here. A strong political will. We know we need the courage to do things that we've never done before, to think out of the box. These are necessary for us to move forward. We need political will to fully implement the laws which were passed during this administration because there's a lot of opposition. But we also need political will to dare to do things differently if necessary, if this will help ensure the attainment of goals. Many of the solutions brought forth today are out-of-the-box solutions and will surely need political will to be carried out. Next is accountability, a culture of accountability. I'd like to subtitle this, "The fear of the Lord is the start of wisdom." There has to be fear that you will be held accountable. Unless there's fear, you have to start with that, because sometimes, people need this to become wise. And I'd like to say, certain things should be unacceptable. It should be unacceptable to be irresponsible stewards of our people's money. I was at a public gathering once listening to the PhilHealth officials say, ano ngayon kung nalulugi ang PhilHealth? Ano ngayon if we spend much more than we collected benefits? Di ba the law says we are not allowed to go bankrupt? They will always replenish our money. He actually said that in public. And I cringed in my seat. I am a PhilHealth paying member and I cringed in my seat. That is unacceptable. How can you say that in public? How can even you think that? It should be unacceptable to think that substandard equipment is good enough for even the most remote rural health unit. Our people deserve the very best health care. And we know that it still has happened in the past. I know they're trying to fix it now, but these are things which might still be happening. It is happening, as somebody said. It should be unacceptable. This is, I think, for PhilHealth lawyers to file charges against errant healthcare providers just to squeeze them for money to make the charges go away and for the fraud to continue. It is happening. I remember Secretary Ray told me, ang hirap nito, ang hirap natin i-disiplina ang ating mga doktor. Kung sasabihin na yung sa loob, meron. We have to clean up inside before we can clean up outside. And it should be unacceptable for the Department of Health regulatory authorities to abuse or trivialize their authority. This has been a source of frustration for Ken, who has had to sometimes whip some people. He once said, who have trivialized or abused authority, knowing full well that their actions can determine life or death, healing or continuous suffering for a vast number of people. This should be unacceptable in a culture of accountability. And finally, passion. We need more passionate people in our government health system, those not yet jaded by fatigue and frustration. We were reminded by Francis Kong during a recent inspirational talk at the Department of Health in Cagayan de Oro that the origin of the word passion is suffering. It is suffering. It's not romantic love, it is not passionate kissing, it's suffering. And it is also one of the characteristics of successful people. We need to have more passionate people in government, those still willing to suffer for a cause and a goal. In our case, the goal is universal quality health care for all Filipinos. Those of us here who have suffered through efforts to bring about positive change know very well what I am talking about. And we need more of you in government and more of your kind. So a strong political will, a culture of accountability and passion. We need all three in order to achieve our health agenda for 2016 and beyond. Brilliant ideas were shared today, but again, they will all be for naught if we don't have this. So in closing, I'm closing now, I'd like to say, and this is my last slide, may I please be allowed to say that this election campaign has been the most acrimonious campaign I have ever lived through in my whole life. So much hate has been spewed, not so much by the presidential candidates themselves, but by the citizens, the voting public. Sometimes it's entertaining, but sometimes it's downright, I don't know, nakakatakot. It can be frightening. So I believe all of us here have the same aspirations for our nation, and that you are one with me in praying that whoever wins as president from a fair and honest and credible election, may this leader become an instrument of healing for this wounded and very divided nation. May God bless us all. Thank you very much.